So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go.
And welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I am your host, Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, based out of Dallas, Texas. And y'all, it's almost 2025. It is almost here. I cannot believe it. It feels like I was just doing episodes for 2024 and here we are. And so that New Year's will creep up on you if you let it. So I'm so excited to do this next episode for you guys to close out our 2024 year. And this is going to be all things PR trends for what myself and several other of my PR babe buds what we foresee for 2025. And so I believe we had about 5 trends that we collectively discussed, and then maybe there were 1 or 2 bonuses that we threw in there. But a reminder that this is not the end all be all list. This is just things that we're seeing in our collective industries, across marketing, across communications, across PR and media that we think that you should have your eye out on as you're looking to PR yourself and your business better in 2025. And so it is a great discussion. I actually had fun. I only planned on doing that live stream for 30 minutes and we went for an hour. And what I love about our live stream discussions is that it's the opportunity for you guys, if you're tuning in, to actually ask your questions or comment in real time. And so that's always a lot of fun to be able to interact with our audiences across LinkedIn, YouTube. There's about 3 Facebook pages that it goes to, as well as 2 different Facebook groups. So that is always a blast for me. If you're wanting to be in the mix of those discussions, go to Facebook and you're going to type in and you're going to search for a group, PR Yourself with Leah Frazier, and just go ahead and click request to join. When it asks you how you found the group, just say, I listened to the podcast. I review all the requests. And of course, I'm going to let you in. And so those are the spaces where normally when we do hot topics like this, I will always live stream because I want you to be able to get your questions answered in real time. So excited for 2025. I am going to personally set an intention with you all, and I'm going to give you a hot tip too. Recently on my radar was another podcast called Podcast Business School. And the podcaster or the host, his name is Adam. He is phenomenal. I ended up attending a free workshop with him because, of course, I want to grow this podcast. We're number 8 out of all of the PR podcasts in the world. And we've been in the top 5% globally for a long time, but I have my own personal goals. I want these messages to reach so many more people. I want to be able to do so much more with this podcast, bring on even bigger guests. I just have big dreams and big goals. And so did a 1-hour workshop with Adam and it just blew my mind. And he is so generous with his tips on growth and scaling and all the things that I am now his biggest fan. And there's certain things and feedback he gave to me personally that I will be implementing in 2025. And one of those things is making sure that I am keeping to my schedule with you all and posting weekly. So my intention, and you're hearing it here first, is that new episodes will be dropping every Tuesday on all platforms for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. And you can just guarantee it. And if you miss an episode, you'll be able to binge watch them. But I will be dropping new episodes weekly every Tuesday on PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. So please keep it locked in. That is my charge and that is my promise to you. So I'm super, super excited about 2025. But you didn't come here to listen to me now, did you? This upcoming episode is so juicy. It is so juicy. So I'm not even doing hot topics because we discussed hot topics live, and you're going to be just as surprised as I am about my guest who hadn't watched Beyonce Bowl. But you know what? I'm going to let him have it because he was being very mindful and very demure with his family over the holidays and said, not even Beyonce can get his time. And that's him, not me. She got all my time. She's still getting my time. I watched a 1 hour artistic dissection of her performance today. Yes, I did. And I agreed with about 80% of it. But my guest, fellow publicist, who you've heard from him before, he said he didn't have the time because he was being very, very mindful over the holidays. And we can all aspire to be like that, even in Beyonce's world. So anyways, so after we come back from the break, we are going to hit it hard with my guest, Chandra Gore of Chandra Gore Consulting out of the DMV area. You've heard from her before in prior podcast episodes. And the Mike Mejer with Green Lane Communication. Baby, he told me, do not put an S at the end of communications. PR my business correctly, Leah. Stop adding an S. And I'm like, sometimes, we do it. Sometimes you add an extra S, an extra R where it doesn't need to be, and it just happens. But it is Green Lane Communication. And shout out to Mike Mejer because he was an awesome, phenomenal panelist for this discussion. So I want you to keep it locked in. You're going to hear a word from our phenomenal sponsor, Kit Caster, which, by the way, if you've made it this far on this podcast, we're almost at 100 episodes, and we've done several on podcasting to PR your business. If you're not seeing the growth that you need, just like I'm getting the help from Adam, and I'm listening now to his podcasting business school, then you need to link up with Kitcaster so that they can get you on as many podcasts for 2025 as possible. And then you can use all that extra time to scale or grow your business in other ways. I'm just putting it out there. So after you listen to the commercial, I'll give you that link. It'll tell you where you can use your special PR yourself code. And please link up with Kitcaster so they can get you all squared away for 2025. All right. And so I'm going to let y'all go for just a second. I will be back after the break with PR tips and trends for 2025 with Mike Mejer, Chandra Gore, and of course, myself, Leah Frazier. Keep it locked in.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
So we are coming to you guys when we really should be resting, okay? Because we know after January 1, y'all are going to wear us out with your needing PR, with whatever you got going on. But we decided to give you another holiday gift. And today we're going to talk small business, PR, top trends that are going to shape 2025 for your businesses. And I have brought two of my favorites who have been on the podcast before. I have Mike Mejer with Green Lane Communication, and he told me you better not put an S at the end of communications because you PR my business correctly. And then I have my girl Chandra Gore. You guys know her, based out of the DMV area. She's been on the podcast several times. So thank you guys for hanging out with me a little bit tonight.
Thank you for having us. This is already, I think, going to be a good time. We've had a lot of fun in the green room, so I'm excited to see where this conversation goes.
So we're going to kick things off. I just kind of want to have a little bit of fun. I think people think publicists could be a little stuffy, like we're always behind the scenes or whatnot. And I want to do a PR hot topic before we tell people what we think our trends are going to be and what they should be following. And so none other, sorry, Mike, I have to do it, for my girl Beyonce. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about the Beyonce Bowl. Okay, we just got to talk about it just a little bit. I want to know you guys' PR thoughts. It could just be, I don't need a whole monologue, but just what do you think? There's a lot of hate out there on the internet, but then there's a lot of love. And I want to start with Chandra. She if I don't go with her first, she's done it. Just go ahead.
I will say this. The hate that is displayed is for clicks and views. That's it. That's all. It's not real. That was it.
Why do you say that?
Because saying you dislike Beyonce or her show will get your profile looked at. It will get your account looked at. It will get you trending. It will get you retweeted, whatever, reposted, restitched, all of those things. So it gave people another boost for content. That's it. That's all I got. Because it was flawless.
Either way. If you didn't like it, you PR'd yourself for clicks and reshares. Great. Mike.
Oh man, this is embarrassing, but I really don't know I don't really know the whole scoop. And I'm hoping that this happened like maybe a day or two before Christmas or something, or
happened on Christmas. I'll give you that.
Okay, cool. I tried to unplug as hard as possible so that I just did not know what was going on. And I could be where my 2 feet were. So
you know what?
I don't even want to lie and be like, oh, thumbs up, thumbs down. I have to keep it funky.
Well, I will say this.
Thought you were watching, so that's why I didn't want to tell y'all ahead of time. But it's okay. You know what, Mike? Good for you for being very mindful, very demure, very present.
Very demure.
Very demure. Because I was tuned in. I don't even watch football. I tuned into Netflix, and I have watched it every day since. So it's there if you want to watch it, and then send me your way in. But
cool.
I
honestly don't care if you like Beyonce or not. I don't. I really don't, because she's gonna always get my money. But I'm gonna tell you this: even if you don't like Beyonce and you're a business owner, if you just follow her just for marketing strategies, she's the queen of the upsell. Yeah. So before she even did
queen of the upsell,
she is leading queen of the upsell. We never can trust that this is the last time we're going to see you. When you do something, we're always going to have our money prepared for whatever you're trying to sell us next. So even when she did the Netflix special for halftime on Christmas Day, as soon as it was over, on her Twitter and Instagram, she drops a promo that says January 14th, 2025. So we all know you're either going to sell us some tickets to a concert, you're going on tour, or maybe the third leg of your whole album compilation, because I think Cowboy Carter was 2. So the third one could be coming out. It's one or the other, but either one requires our money.
We're ready. That card's ready.
So if
I haven't even opened my box of Renaissance.
Hate her marketing strategy and how she publicizes the crap out of it. She does an entire campaign that needs to be studied. Harvard Business School.
It literally leverages. People are really up at midnight when she posts. Literally within 5 minutes of her post. Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm not gonna sit up here. I'm them, okay? I am one of those people. I see the post and I'm like in awe because the strategy is so on point. And I'm like, well, she's a Virgo, of course. I totally get it. Like, but it's right on track. It's right when it needs to happen. And I gotta respect it. Gotta respect it.
And what I love about her publicist, Yvette, is that she doesn't really get in there talking. She's not at the forefront, but you can all tell it's strategized ahead of time. So even if the hate comes out online, they're very quiet. They let her work speak for itself. And I think that in and of itself, for what we try to tell our clients to do, like sometimes shut up. Not everything deserves a response. Let people hate. Let the positive stuff come out. Hey, whatever else, so I think you could do a whole case study on all of this, but it's been amazing to watch.
And I was just going to add too, like Beyonce, marketing machine, checking every single box. At the same time, I also want to make sure we give credit where credit is due to either the publicist or the entire PR team, because I can only imagine we understand the mechanics behind the scenes. And so everybody's like, oh man, that was flawless. Meanwhile, I know at least a half a dozen people were probably sweating bullets behind the scenes, making sure that the tweet went up at the right time, everything went flawless. Like I said, I didn't even know this whole thing happened, just from what I'm gathering from you two, I'm like, man, props to her and especially to the team behind the scenes, helping to make sure everything just came together the right way. So everybody on that team, everybody on that squad, kudos to them.
Even the rollout for the PR boxes that went out, literally it's a short turnaround. And I saw the person who did the boxes that went out to the different people that did, the content creators. She had such a short turnaround to where it wasn't enough time to leak the information. It was not even enough time to leak it. So it was just like, they know which vendors to use to make sure that the outcome was successful. But also, like, those NDAs must be ironclad too, and I love it.
Well, it was 72 hours because I saw there was the designers that had to make 40 dresses custom. They showed the pattern making process, and they only had 72 hours to get it done before the halftime show on Christmas Day. That included fittings. So
a lot of work.
To your point, not enough time to get everything out, but I agree with you, Mike. Like, her entire team, like, that does take an entire team to keep it mum, to keep the buzz going. Like, there's still stuff online about it right now. They're still profiting off of it right now, off that show. So I'm glad you were able. I need that type of mindfulness in my life. I'm not doing this right.
How did you do that though? Did you just turn off your internet? The Wi-Fi is gone or something?
I wasn't paying attention to any screens. My phone was on DND. It was on silent. I knew everybody was okay. That, like immediate family and all that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have myself some dessert. I'm gonna enjoy a beautiful cup of coffee, maybe have a drink, and just sit and hang and just chill. And I don't want to look at any screens. I put in the OT beforehand, and I was like, I'm gonna reward myself just by completely disconnecting. And that's exactly what I did. I made that promise to myself and I did it. So it definitely doesn't happen all the time. Just a disclaimer. I'm not the best at that, but it was the holidays, and it's the week and a half, 2 weeks every single year that I really make a conscious effort to just try to unplug. So I guess I did a good job if I missed that one.
You did.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of
you.
you.
Doing a little bit of FOMO, but thank you.
But when you reconnect, you can get on Netflix and you can check it out. And then you'll be like, oh, we see it now. And then, yeah. All right. So that's just a little bit of Beyonce fun. I had to do that with my fellow poets. Yes. But today we're going to talk about trend shaping 2025 and beyond, getting you all ready for how you want to approach your businesses, your small businesses, and a possible PR strategy. So we've all kind of talked about it behind the scenes, but Mike has a couple, Chandra has a couple, I have my one. So I'm going to kick it off, Mike, with your first trend that you're seeing in PR land. What you got for us?
Yeah, so I think, and I'm really excited about this one in particular. I think we're going to see a lot more smaller, agile businesses adopting PR strategies and executing on those PR strategies. I think in 2023, in 2024, this whole narrative and sentiment started to change. And it was that only monster enterprise level companies could afford to do PR or could only execute on PR because of almost like a bad reputation for the PR space itself. But I think now we're starting to see a lot more smaller startup bootstrapped companies leaning into PR strategies. And even the conversations I've had with folks throughout 2024, these aren't monster publicly traded companies with flashy VC funds behind them and all this kind of stuff. They want to tap into the power of thought leadership. They want to tap into earned media. They want to do collaborations that will have intentional outcomes and cross promotions among audiences. They want different social proofs to help power and boost some of their campaign efforts that may be happening in the next quarter or year end. They want that added credibility and trust so that when in the next 12 months they start to go out and fundraise, there is already ample buzz, trustworthiness, authority, and credibility around their brand name. So I'm excited about it. That's one of my predictions. I think we're going to see a lot more smaller and agile businesses diving into PR and executing on it, rather than just those folks thinking that it's not accessible and untouchable and only for the big players out there.
What do you think about that, Chandra?
I agree, because I've seen and I've met with a couple of small businesses who didn't feel they needed PR or they understood what PR could do for their brand, and they looked at it like, oh, I'm only 7 people here, and I had to explain to them that it doesn't matter about the number of people that you do have. It's about sharing your story and your impact within your community. So I totally agree. People are now realizing that there is a greater need and for their business to grow and to actually get the benefits of having a firm to help them, guide them, even if they don't retain them, just getting the tools that they need. So I totally agree with that, because they're seeing how the market is changing and they're seeing how business are going, and people want to connect now more than ever to the people behind the brand, the people behind the business. So I totally agree with you on that. It's gonna be a resurgence.
Hey, Tiffany. And I agree as well. I actually had somebody reach out today who said that they had never considered PR before, but was told in a mastermind that she should do it for 2025. And so I'm really excited that smaller businesses are taking it seriously. I've always said that when you guys have a budget, even if it's a smaller budget, marketing and PR is always last, and you spend it on everything else. So I'm excited, Mike, that these smaller businesses and entrepreneurs are actually going to utilize it as a part of their strategy, or that's what we're seeing for 2025. Now, are we as agencies, firms, freelancers, how are we navigating, I guess, that? Because that's obviously a different price structure than a firm, than an agency. Their needs are just a little bit different than medium to larger size businesses. So,
I just did this today. I just did that today. I just went over my pricing structure and offerings for those smaller businesses, and looking at exactly, because a lot of the smaller businesses have, they want to see something tangible, even though public relations is not a tangible. It's not something that you can hand over, but to help them to understand during the discovery phase or during these times where things are not moving the way that they want to. They want them for them to see and have a metric to measure how it's going, like kind of not niching it down enough so they understand this is the work that's being done and this is what the end result will be. You just have to be patient, because I get it. People go viral. That is a great thing, but having the longevity and the foundation to have, earned media come along. Yes, you can insert some paid media placements, not advertisements, but actually those paid well, it is an ad though. You know what I'm saying? But incorporating those within a budget that makes sense, because a lot of small businesses are working with a limited budget, but giving them enough wins for them to see that there's progress being made, and making sure I'm pricing it so that I am not feeling overworked and underpaid. So I had to have a really hard conversation with myself.
Right. That was a good one, Mike. That was a good one. Speaking of those smaller niches, Chandra, you had another one. You had a trend that was kind of along that same line. So I found that interesting that you guys kind of were in alignment. What's the second trend?
Yeah. So the focusing on the micro media outlets and stuff. That's, I think I was on the PRSA. I was moderating our holiday networking meeting or whatever, and we were talking about how there are so many like newspapers, Substacks are going to be the place to go for hard for news and other media placements, because I hate to go back to my first point with the new administration, but we'll talk about that later. But how Substack is becoming a go-to resource or go-to placement for those fields or those that coverage that you need for those niche markets, but also to kind of go in depth a little bit, because it's sometimes behind a paywall or subscribers. So you know how many people are going to be viewing it already. So it's like earning that and getting from there. I think that in the next coming years, that's going to be where the media is going, because one, it's trustworthy. It's two, it's not bought because it's paid for by people who read it. And then three, they're at liberty to say what they need to say and actually give you the real, the raw, the uncut versions, or, you know, the truth behind certain projects or, individuals or companies and brands. So I do think even college newspapers, are becoming a resource to go to get coverage, especially if you're talking about something that will directly affect somebody's what they're studying in their field of studying when they get out of college, or when they, or if they are going back for a master's or a doctorate. Those college newspapers are great, are going to be a resource, because I'm sorry to say it, mainstream media is kind of touch and go right now. We have editors that are afraid. So,
right. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I don't think media is going anywhere. I think we're still going to have and who knows, they may not be called editors in 2 or 3 years. Like Chandra pointed out, like we have so many different mediums that I think a lot of the media is just going to kind of pour over from one cup into another. So we may see less broadcast, and we may see a greater emphasis on Substacks and newsletters and things like that. So I don't personally feel like I have a crystal ball gut feeling type of thing right now, as far as like where it's going to be going exactly or where it's going to come from. But I 1000% agree that we're going to see different mediums like Substacks, newsletters, and just individually powered outlets thrive and really surge in popularity and trust over the next 12 to 24 months versus where they were just starting to kind of creep up to the surface over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I agree, which kind of leads me to my trend where just diversifying your coverage in general. And I think for us on the PR side, we have been advising our clients of these things for years, probably within the last decade, when we saw influencers on the rise and we saw content creators coming up, and even in this past election, seeing the presidential candidates going on podcasts versus going on other mediums. And so now finally to see publicists and firms and agencies and really the clients, because we've known all along.
Yep.
The clients come and they want TV, they want Oprah, they want The View, they want New York Times. And to now be able to say, we've been telling you that podcasts are where it's at, or some of these non-traditional outlets are where it's at. This to me is like a win-win-win. And in 2025, I just see it getting even better, where we can diversify our coverage across all of these mediums, including, like you were saying, Substacks and newsletters and things of that nature. What I'm seeing here, especially on a local level, in Dallas, is that a lot of our news stations are kind of getting with the times and realizing like everybody's streaming now. And so they are really beefing up their streaming platforms and trying to diversify coverage, not just by having a morning show that runs on broadcast TV, but how can we utilize YouTube and streaming and making sure that coverage goes on all day long. And so again, I think that's another PR win, especially in my lane, where I can tell a client like, yeah, you're going on the morning show at 9 a.m., but it's going to stream on the streaming platform all day long, at least 2, 3, 4, 5 more times on blah, blah, blah TV. Like, I'm so excited about that. I can't even like contain myself, because I'm like, one win now or one hit is actually probably like 5 points of coverage for us now that some of our broadcast stations are getting with the times and trying to compete with these content creators, these streamers that can get millions and millions and millions and millions of views.
Go ahead, Chandra.
Go ahead. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add too, especially, and Chandra, this kind of ties into how you were sort of diving into different niches and those micro audiences in a way. I know in my world, in cannabis, a lot of the industry trade publications, what they do is exactly what you just said, Leah. They will, whether it's an article, whether it's a video interview that they then turn into a podcast, they then clip up that video file into multiple social posts that they then deploy on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the only cannabis-friendly social media networks, or more friendly than others, like Instagram and Facebook. So it's interesting to see too how some of that is already starting to be deployed in specific industries or specific niches, even though it may look a little bit different. But I think it's really interesting to see how these trends are starting to catch on. And I totally agree. I think 2025, we're going to see a lot more, not just industry trade, niche specific outlets, but definitely seeing more local mainstream broadcast publications and outlets adopting that process right there. I think that's going to be really cool to see. And I think clients are going to be loving it too, just like you said, Leah. So I think it's a win all around.
It's a win-win. I'm so excited for the one station I can think of, because they were already taking our morning show. They put it online. So to me, that's like another hit. Yeah. And then at YouTube, that's another hit. So now with the streaming network, if it continues to air on streaming, it's like I'm getting my clients 6 points of coverage, within one interview. And I'm like, this is amazing. So that's my goal, is like, I want to go after the folks that are diversifying their coverage rather than just being one track minded. Like, let's get you on Fox. Let's get you on the one that is going to showcase across 6 or 7 different places and audiences.
Because that's what I look at.
Oh, no, go ahead, Chandra.
I look at where the interview is going to go, and I actually say, like, this one interview is going to put you here, 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 and here. That helps them to understand, the client to understand, listen, it's just not just one interview. It's just not just one thing. And it was a hard sell before, because people don't understand, like, they use it, they roll it out. It's not instantaneous, but they do roll it out and use it. And sometimes they even go back and clip it if there's something they newsjack using a clip from an interview and it aligns with a current story. So it's like explaining that to individuals, to clients. It's helped, to have examples to show, like, hey, this is what this individual did in your market. So this is what happens. So yes.
What up, Mike?
I was just gonna add real quick too, and this gets me fired up too. I'm just so excited. But the cool thing is that now, like, our clients and these businesses, they now have multiple forms of content to now take and put that earned media coverage to work. Because I always say, it's okay, great, you've secured the coverage, it's live, but now what are you going to do on your end to actually really put it to work and get even greater ROI out of it? And Chandra, just how you broke it down, how there's so many different mediums now, different formats, and all of that can come out of one interview. It gives them so much more value too, because now they can do so many more different things with that one block of time, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes that they invested into it. They could just chop that up and use it in so many different ways. So I'm super excited about that as well.
That is great. And then this will lead me into your point, Mike, which will be our 4th tip. But I'm going to give y'all a sub tip on that. This content creation and you taking ownership of it, which I've loved here on the podcast lately, where I've had folks that have come in where, low key, y'all are probably throwing a little shade. Like, she's slow in getting me my assets back. But many of you guys are already using like some sort of AI clip generator to go ahead and generate the interview, go ahead and post it out and tell folks that you've been on the podcast. And I've seen that going really, really well. So to Mike's point, even if it's just one morning show interview that you book, or it's one podcast interview, go ahead and figure out what software you're going to use. Like, I love Opus AI or Opus Pro right now. think somebody else was using one. If you Google like Opus, there's another one that's like Digi something that does the same exact thing, that goes and makes those viral clips using AI. It's the auto captions on there and everything else. Boom, share it on social media and you're done. And it makes you look like a rock star, right? But that's you taking ownership of your coverage versus waiting on the news station to get it back to you, or waiting on them to send you the downloadable file, or waiting on the podcaster to send you the video. When these platforms like Opus, you just put the YouTube link into their software and it chops it up in 10 different clips, literally in less than 10 minutes. It's amazing.
Oh, because I haven't. Okay, so literally, you know what I do? I go to the Facebook or wherever live it is, download it, and I'm in here, chopping it like I'm a
AI. I use Opus. I had somebody on, another publicist on a couple weeks ago. They use a whole nother generator, but who cares? as long as it works and it knocks out you having to sit and find sound bites and all this other stuff. Nobody has time for that. You're just trying to publicize the fact that, to y'all's point, that you've had another interview and get some of those thought leadership points out there on the internet for people to follow. So that's great, Mike.
I need that.
Me too. I just made a mental note to go check that too. Opus, right?
Let me check app Sumo.
Opus has been great for me, but there is another one that we're bragging about, but it's one of those ones where it's clear that the other service is buying the Google keywords for Opus. So they'll come up on that first page too. And I say they both have free trials. Try it out, see what works for you, and use it. But for me not to have to sit, like even today, however long this goes, and have to listen for sound bites, or when somebody says something great and clip it myself and download it. No.
We have to get you an affiliate link, Leah, because I'm sold. Like this is this is the pitch.
Holler at me.
Send me, because that way I can actually, because I rarely post my wins for myself, my clients, yes, but the stuff I don't. Yeah, this is. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
PR yourself 2025.
That's
right.
Did you know that podcasts are a great way to grow your personal and business brand voice? Listen, here's a secret. We all want to feel connected to brands we buy from. So what better way to humanize a brand than through sharing your story on a podcast? Think about it now. You in bright lights and on PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Hey, it can happen. Listen, Kitcaster is a podcast booking agency. They're one of the friends of the show that specializes in developing real human connections through podcast appearances. So if you're an expert in your field, you have a unique story to share, or you have an interesting point of view, it is time for you to explore the world of podcasting with Kitcaster. You can expect a completely customized concierge service from their staff of communication experts. Kitcaster is your secret weapon in podcasting for business. Listen, your audience is waiting to hear from you. Don't make them wait too much longer. So what you're going to do, you're going to head to kitcaster.com. That is kitcaster.com/PR yourself to apply for a special offer for friends of this podcast. And listen, don't delay. Get with it today. A lot of your amazing guests that you guys love so much on this podcast came from Kitcaster. Don't delay. Next time it needs to be you.
But speaking of AI, let's get into it. PR and AI. Y'all are using your chat GPT like it's nobody's businesses for press releases, pitches, email pitches. Mike, what do we have in terms of AI for 2025 and PR? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I definitely don't recommend using ChatGPT to write a press release or to write a pitch and then just blast it out there. I mean, hey, to each his own, but definitely don't recommend doing that. And I have a feeling based on each of your reactions right now, you probably agree. And I'd love to hear some stories because I feel like you probably have some good stories as far as that goes. But I think the search results of AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT Perplexity is actually a really cool one. If you type in, I think it's Perplexity. I don't have the paid version of ChatGPT, so I don't know exactly the full function of that one. But if you type into Perplexity and other AI tools, like, hey, can you pull up a list of articles about topic XYZ? They'll pull it up, and it could be super detailed, specific, and the whole 9 yards. And you can get really into the nitty gritty. I need an article that explains da 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 da. Boom, they'll pop up 3, 4, 5 articles for you. And I did this as a test in cannabis packaging just to see what came up, what companies came up, what brands were mentioned and not mentioned, if any of our clients' actual business websites were listed. And what we found was that I think 5 out of the 7 links that came up in the search results were earned media hits that we ended up getting for our clients, where they were either quoted or they contributed guest articles. And so that to me was a big red alert. And for us to be conscious of the fact that this is going to be a whole new level of what we used to call SEO. So it's no longer just, okay, are you appearing in Google searches? Now it's going to be, okay, what appears when you search for this in an AI tool or an AI search engine? And I know Google has their own, I probably shouldn't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's like an AI search engine version of Google that first pops up when you search for something. So it's going to be important to make sure that we rank for those opportunities as well. And getting good quality coverage, consistent coverage is going to help bake you and your clients into those results. So that's just something I think all of us need to be, or just need to keep top of mind for 2025, and just make sure that we're not neglecting that. Because I think if you can own that space as it's starting to pick up and take off, that could be some good real estate for you to secure before it maybe gets too pricey to get in.
I will say that I'm so glad you brought this up, because I actually just did an interview with a guy that is a Google Ads expert. That's what he does for a living. And he said this exact same thing. He was like, if you go out and you notice, if you're Googling anything nowadays, like, oh, I want the top 5 restaurants in Dallas or whatever, it's that AI generated, instead of you'll still see the ads or the paid ads, but it's that AI generated response that gives you the websites and those links, where now that's the placements we want, because that's going to be where people are going to click. Now, I still haven't figured out, and maybe Mike or Chandra, y'all have an idea of like how they're coming up with how to rank those sites when you're Googling. I don't know. Does it have to be a website that's been around? Is it a good website? Is it, I don't know what it is, but he said the exact same thing, that AI generated response on Google now, when you're searching for things, is the top place where everybody wants to be from here for their business moving forward.
I mean, I will say, so you know how every year people should be updating their websites, right? So a good way to actually kind of get a replacement into those search engines is to republish the article or as a blog post on your website, and make sure you do the back end work, that you are doing the backlinks and stuff like that. Because when it has a resurgence of, reappearing on your website fresh, it'll actually put it back into circulation. So that's the biggest thing, is like making sure your back end is done, making sure it's linked properly, making sure, but also you can also check that by going into the private mode to double check how you're coming up on Google. Yeah. Because a lot of times, it follows us. Like after this, the app you're using for your AI generated, because I have Alexa, everything. I mean, it's going to come up. But the biggest thing is refresh those links to your website. Actually publish it as, even if it's something that you can tie into something current, do it that way. And it's kind of like it's not a quick fix, but it's still just a boost, if that makes sense, because sometimes you don't want to pay for anything until you get to that point. Because sometimes you could have an article from 5 years ago that's relevant today. As long as you can tie it into something that's relevant today, repost it, make it make sense, and that way it will come up in a search engine because you've just put it out there again. Because I've actually went digging for client stuff that was posted years and years ago. And then now when they Googled them, it never showed up But now, since we put it into place, it's coming up. So it's just about how you repurpose content is key to getting into those searches and getting into those placements in certain things. But also, I gotta touch on Chat GPT. If I get one more AI generated questions back from an interview or a press release or a pitch, I'm going to scream, because you have to train AI. You have to train the Chat GPT. You have to train it to have your cadence, your voice, and things like that. Because some of the stuff I'm receiving, I'm like, you know what? This is you want me to publish this? This is what you want me? No, let me talk to you directly, and then use Oterra to do the captions and give me, and like I can use that, because it's mind-boggling of the level of professionals that have basically checked out mentally and have been using it as a I'm gonna go to that now. No, you still have to think about your client and what you want, what their end result, what they want it to be. And you actually have to make it a relevant story that an editor or writer is going to pick up on it, or a news outlet. I think I've seen so many journalists scream about that. Like, no AI generated responses, send me a video. I've literally, if y'all don't leave AI alone and start thinking. Listen, look at me right now, okay? Listen. Think about what you're sending out on behalf of your clients and yourself. And then ask yourself, do you want to be talked at, or do you want to be talked to? Like, sell it. You cannot expect someone to believe in your client, your product, your brand, if you are not touching it personally and making it have a human voice. That's all I got.
Kayla's laughing. I know for Newsbreak, so when I do write for Newsbreak, we have to click a box to say if any part of the article was AI generated. And now they're adding, even if your images are AI generated, you have to click that. Not like they're dinging points, but they're trying to set some parameters around allowing, there's a responsibility and there's ethics around letting the reader or the listener or the viewer know that this is not real.
And so then you lose credibility. And that's why and I'm sorry to anybody I've done an article for, I literally write, okay? I want my authentic voice. I do not want to drop whatever we talked about into an app. That's work within itself right there, because sometimes they spell people's name wrong. I had my name spelled 6 times wrong. Okay, listen. It's great. It's great for if you want to expand on a topic, if you want to do Instagram captions or social media, different things. But please, if you're sending out an email or talking to someone or responding to a proposal, do not, okay. Yeah, do better. That's all. I can't. It's so frustrating.
I agree. If you use it as a the hey, I'm kind of stuck right here, I need some ideas. Like, you're not getting all of the pitches from AI, but maybe you need some ideas. What should I be doing around this time here? It's kind of dead. Like, is there anything that I haven't thought of? And then you, along with AI, are brainstorming. That is fine. But allowing AI to do all of the work and not thinking that these editors or journalists know is a big mistake. They can't stand it.
Right. I can tell your threads. Like, they're over it. They're blacklisting people. They are literally like, you can essentially chat your way out of coverage for your client. I'm just saying, like, once you're blacklisted, it's over. Find something else to do at this point.
Yeah. So that's AI. The discussion continues. Use it, but use it with caution.
Use some sense.
Use some sense. That was number 4, right? So Chandra, you have one more, right?
Yes. Okay. So the new administration is coming. And I've seen editors actually are cheating. They're leaving. They are quitting. They are wiping their hands, but they're also tiptoeing around. They're treading lightly on how they're covering different things. So I do feel like that is going to be where we go into those niche outlets, or people are going behind those walls to actually protect themselves from retaliation and stuff. We have to think about that. We've already seen it's so much going on. And so I think it's going to be like that. We see it, it's happening. We just have to be able to work around it, but also understand that some outlets are going to be focused on things that do not touch those hot areas, those hot topics that can get them either targeted or possibly put out of business. We just have to accept it for what it is. This is what we're going to for a while. So, a lot of people are not going to cover certain things to cover them, to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. I know there was an editor out of Germany that quit, and he wrote why he quit. So this is not just a domestic issue, it's international now. So we have to be hyper aware we have to look at what outlets are covering and how they're covering it before we pitch our clients, because you don't want to essentially put them in a situation and yourself in a situation where it will prove fruitless and they will never cover it. So that's my take on a trend that's going to be here for a while. We got 4 years.
Yeah. I think it goes to say, like, even extending outside of just news coverage as well, is like, just as we get into this new year, whether you're doing PR for yourself or whether you do hire a publicist or agency or firm, just go ahead and get into a crisis comms plan, because people, sometimes they look to your company to respond on particular issues or have a stance. Sometimes they don't. And then an executive goes rogue and does. And like, what do you do in a situation like that, where it's one of those hot topics or politics, and then everybody's up in arms, and next thing you know, everybody's canceling everybody. So really be careful on how you approach social media, like these hot topics, considering, is this something that I need to publicize for my business or brand? If you can just chill out and just not even go there for the sake of your small business, don't. Don't even put it in the group chat, because the moment you kick them out of the group chat, they screenshot it and then they say, look what so-and-so said, then that's on TikTok. So just keep it to yourself or to some of your family, not all your family, but some of them. And yeah, it's
go in the closet and just have a conversation with the clothes in the closet, then come out. Okay, don't tell nobody. Don't
put a mirror in there and just look right at it.
Yes, get eye to eye with yourself and just let it all out and then come out, because the days of screen recordings, audio record. I can't.
I will say this, that even though Shayla said table talk only, everybody's under
everybody with your phones in the car.
As I say, everybody's under NDA.
Unplug Alexa.
I will say that this kind of reminds me of the pandemic a little bit, where, and this is something that everybody can consider as well, because this will lead me into a bonus point that I wasn't even going to make, but I'm going to make it. Like during the pandemic, the editors, the journalists, the reporters, everybody was so exhausted about covering death and the pandemic and all of this just negative stuff that was coming down our feeds, right? That they were looking for more positive, uplifting, inspiring stories. And so I really think, I know it's a trend to talk about storytelling, but if you're a small business owner and you really can get these stories down about why you're doing what you're doing, the impact you're making. One of the things that I see a lot of small businesses screw up on is you don't have your data, so you don't know the numbers of your impact. But if you're doing things in the community, or if you're changing a whole industry around, or if you're changing lives, like these are the stories they want to hear and want to cover. Like I literally had a nonprofit on a couple of weeks ago, and the producer and the anchor was texting me afterwards, send me more stories like this. And I'm like, do I have more stories like this?
Girl, you better find it.
It was my restaurant client. Like, what can we make up? Or like, what can we take on this small little bit about jollof rice and really make it like
But People Magazine, and this is from speaking to that, People Magazine has had an uptick of covering not just the celebrity, but actually more happier. No, if you haven't seen separation, divorces, anything like that, it's been feel good, connecting, family connecting stories, things that will touch your heart. And if you go down like literally their feed, remember people used to have, somebody separated or they're getting a divorce, all of that. But now it's just been heartwarming story after heartwarming story, all of those good things. And I'm so happy to see the resurgence of that. I'm happy about that because we're going to be stressed for a while.
What are your thoughts, Mike, on storytelling and small business owners and possibly like focus on your impact or focus on, the good?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think first, before I dive into that too, Chandra, you brought up a good point too, just with kind of what we may be dealing with heading into 2025. And you mentioned an editor that was from Germany that wrote a letter as far as like his resignation or her resignation and all that. And I just think one important thing to take away from that is this is a really important time to be empathetic to a lot of what people in media are going through.
Yep. And
so if we know that, I'll just use that individual as an example, but if they are going out on their own now, or if they're switching media companies that they're going to be working for, just understanding kind of where they're at personally and professionally, because it does kind of blend in together a little bit, but just being empathetic to that. Maybe you don't even have a pitch to send them, but you just say, hey, look, I totally have the utmost respect for you. I know it takes a lot of guts to be able to, wear your heart on your sleeve, do that, be professional about it, et cetera, et cetera. Wishing you all the best. If there's anything I could do to help, please let me know. I'm always a resource for you. Even just being a human, I think that's what it boils down to. And just being able to lend a hand to those people that we always turn to in hopes that they could do us a favor. And I just think now more than ever is one of those times where they could probably use a little bit more support from us than ever before. Very similar to during the pandemic time. So I just wanted to put that out there to piggyback off of what you said. And as far as like positive feel good stories, I've spoken with several journalists and reporters from local outlets, and they said the same exact thing that you said, Leah. They know that there is a lot of doom and gloom reporting, and there's always some kind of doom and gloom, and it tends to get clicks. So we understand, kind of how that goes. But at the end of the day, whether it's a news anchor, whether it's a journalist, a reporter, a producer, whoever it may be, they are fiending for those positive stories, those feel good stories. And what you said is true. And I'm sure that it's probably going to hold true throughout newsrooms all across America, probably all over the world too. If you have good stories where you're the owner of a business and you're partnering up with a nonprofit, or you just did something that really left a positive impact on a community that you're from. Now you have a business there. You're organizing a run or something that gives back to a good cause. And these are just common everyday examples of it, but they really do want that information and they want to hear about it. They want to share it with their audience and their viewers. I hope not, but I don't think that's going to be going away anytime soon. I think there's always going to be a place for those stories. And I think those editorial calendars, even if they're focused on something very particular for a specific month, I think they're always going to have a place for that. So let's keep the floodgates open as far as that kind of news sharing goes.
But I do think there's also going to be a kind of a more focus on entertainment as well. Like think about the major concert tours and stuff that are going on. They're going to find different things that have happened at these events and expound on those. And I think that they're going to be filling those gaps and filling those places in. And because we have another concert. Who else has another residency? We just have to pay attention to that. The entertainment is going to actually have an uptick as well too, because people you listen to music to kind of get away. You listen to music to kind of calm yourself. So those are going to be a huge part as well. I think in the upcoming years with these tours and these residencies and stuff, we're going to see that as well. So
to bring people together, I like that.
Yeah.
You think those?
Yeah.
Festivals, anything like that.
Yeah, Chandra, question for you too. Do you think that it's the artist that would fuel the coverage around their concerts and their tours and all that? Or like where you I'm super interested to get your take on what aspect of it do you think is going to be getting the most coverage?
I think what would get the most coverage is fans, how they interact, and also how the artist interacts with the fans. But also if they are doing something like, come on now, Beyonce Bowl already.
Yeah.
They're going to, that actually is going to set the bar for like Usher's tour. Like, come on, those things, Taylor Swift, all of those tours, people are going to come out of the woodworks and put things together so that they can touch people. But also the end of these, people are really going to make it a point to create the content around up until they actually go to the event. Like you have Kendrick Lamar and Tyler, the Creator. They just launched their tours for next year. And the what I'm seeing around it is individuals are creating content. And so that from there, news outlets are going to be looking at that and tracking to figure out the most heartwarming or the most outlandish story that they can get to get that press hit. So a lot of times not saying I'm psychic, but sometimes I'm on point. I think that that's where it's going to come to, because sometimes you have to disconnect from the media machine that is driving with government affairs and all of that, but to look at from the doom and gloom to give those one-offs, but those artists actually are doing the work to help us to not go into those dark times.
I think it's very interesting that you said that, because literally, not to just keep talking about Carter, but even I wrote an article for the Dallas Observer when Beyonce came about her impact on our Western wear clothing retailers that we had here. And the ones that made money are independent designers, where when Renaissance came, everything was all silver. We were selling out of silver. Like, what did that look like for North Texas? So now with this and the anticipation of whatever is dropping on January 14th, my mind is already going to like how many of our Western wear stores, and specifically those that make hats, are about to benefit. And how is this going to bring Texas together, which is, a state where we're always at each other's throats, red, blue, whatever you believe in, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth. But just this one artist and then her impact for what is possibly to come. So I think, Chandra, you make a very, very good point. My mind was already going there, and the news outlets already knows when stuff like that comes to Dallas. I pull in designers like, hey, can you go on TV? What is our what to wear segment? And everybody has fun talking about, this is what I'm going to wear to the concert. And here's this designer that's talking about what they're designing for concert goers. And then we're forgetting about Texas being Texas.
But even here, like I'm in rural Virginia, quote unquote. I'm 35, 40 minutes outside of DC, but technically I'm not part of the DMV, but I am. But long story short, they have in this area, we have those stores where you have, the cowboy boots, where you can get these items that you won't have to go far for, to get them. So we're not that far from North Carolina. We're not that far from, these people who are these leather makers. I forgot what they're called, but those individuals who create the leather for these items. So they're going to see an uptick of people trying to source items to create these pieces for, the wares, like even from the chaps or the boots, the hats, everything. So the impact is just not there. The ripple effect is going to be amazing, just from that one thing, because some of the outfits I do want, but that's besides the point. So it's going to be a great thing for small businesses who can actually come out. And that's one of the things I'm going to look for tomorrow, is any businesses that are who are looking at an uptick of their searches or their websites being looked at. These leather makers. I'm sorry, anybody who's a vegan, I'm sorry, but cowboy boots, hats, things of that nature, that's where it comes from. I'm so sorry. But that's another thing. The individuals who are going to be against that whole,
make it the vegan, the vegan leather, like, Telfar does. Use that.
What was okay? I don't beyond leather. Okay, got
beyond
it.
Leather.
Not beyond meat, beyond leather.
I don't know. I just, ethically sourced leather. Okay, I don't know, but it's going to be both sides. I don't know, but both sides are going to have something to talk about. So with that within itself is going to feed the engine that is media. So I'm happy about that.
Yes. We have been at this for a smooth hour. I appreciate everybody's insights. We gave you guys 5 trends that were actually 5 and 2 bonuses. So you've got 7 trends that we're seeing in PR land. That's going to spread throughout 2025 and beyond, and possibly even more. Before we close it out, any last remaining thoughts before 2025 comes through? Starting with Mike.
Oh man, Happy New Year to everybody. And this was awesome. This was a whole bunch of fun. I'm just excited to see where this goes. And it'll be cool to maybe even do this again at the end of 2025 and see what we talked about and see how it panned out and how it all unfolded.
I'll
leave it at that.
Look, I'm like, let's have some fun. Like, let's see who predicted. We'll have to do that and see who had the most predictions that actually came into fruition. Chandra.
I would actually say smile more, stress less. That's all I got. Just personally, and in regard to business, because sometimes before you answer that email, smile before you respond. It'll change your tone, and it can be felt. Listen, lady, I know. I had to tell myself. Take a deep breath, smile before you respond to that message, okay? Walk into the new year with a smile and realizing that, you can always set an alert to go back to that, circle back to that email. Do not let anything take you off of your happy in 2025.
Not even AI, says Shayla Gardner.
Loose from the shackles of ChatGPT.
And I guess mine would be just first off, keep it locked in on PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Just because it's so funny. Mike hit on some points where I had a guest coming. So I feel like the synergy within the industry of everybody giving the same advice and really trying to help you guys is really it's stellar right now. And I'll even give this tip. Someone the other day was telling me, everybody's on Blue Sky right now. And I was like, what the heck is Blue Sky? So now I'm on Blue Sky, which is kind of like Twitter, but nobody's really trying to do Twitter anymore. And they're on Threads. So all that being said, my advice is just have fun. Okay. We don't know if TikTok's going to be gone tomorrow. But when it comes to you and your small business, PR, marketing, or content strategy, please don't stress yourself out about it. Like Chandra said, go back to what's fun. Go back to your why, your story, and try to have some fun around it. Creating these videos, posting these clips, and try not to get all worked up and super anxious about it. Because I could tell when somebody is having fun watching a news segment or a podcast, or when you guys are doing your social media. And I can tell the ones that are, I'm doing this because you told me I had to do this. There's a stark difference. So please, for 2025, try to find a couple of platforms where you truly can just let loose and have fun with your brand and just rock it there. And don't always make it about the money. Make it about you're just having fun with your business, because that's what it's all about.
Very true.
Thank you. Well, this has been fun. We're going to sign out. Before we go, let's let people know how they can follow you all. I'll start with Mike.
LinkedIn, definitely super accessible. I always love hanging out on LinkedIn. Tons of great people to follow, connect with, learn from. I love soaking up as much information as possible. So if you have any PR tips to share with me, please. I'm always posting about PR, especially cannabis-focused PR, and how that world, how that sandbox works, all the ins and outs of that. So like Leah said, I'm here for a good time. I'm also here to learn a little bit about PR along the way. So always feel free to reach out to me on there.
And I will say Mike is great to follow on LinkedIn, because sometimes he posts tips and the shade is beautiful. So definitely find Mike on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Great follow. And he also gives really good tips. So
Okay, then.
And Chandra.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all of those with Chandra Gore Consulting. I'm starting to share more now. I do share articles and tips and things, but it's not as shady as it can be. But it's informative. I love what I do. I'm open for questions or anything like that. It's just, but you can follow me, Gore Consults. That is where I post things as well. So y'all can reach out to me there.
And then you guys know me, the Leah Frazier, on all platforms. You can subscribe and follow PR Yourself with Leah Frazier podcast. And I would just binge. But 2025 is about to be super epic, because I'm going to be posting every week, and y'all can hold me to it. Mike, Chandra, like for real.
Okay, listen, you're going to post, I'm going to post, because I'll be 3 months in and I haven't posted anything.
So we'll see. And I'm going to create a clip tonight with Opus from this, so you guys can see that it really, really works. And I want to hear how you guys are going to be repurposing your content for 2025. But try the free trial out.
Send me a referral link.
It is. I will. I'm going to text it to you as soon as we get out.
Same here.
Thanks, guys. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Let's go get it. 2025. And there you have it. Man, oh man, oh man. I know this was a long one. So if you had to press pause, take notes, wash some dishes, put the kids to bed, do all the things, then that's fine. I get it. But we were having way too much fun online. I am going to, again, implore you, if you are not already linked up at PR Yourself with Leah Frazier on Facebook and joining that group, you need to join it now, because I'm about to just go ham for 2025 in that group. And you're not going to want to miss out. All right. So I want to wish every single last one of you a happy new year, a very prosperous and abundant 2025. Thank you so much for being a faithful listener. I am humbled by the feedback that I get, by the listener numbers, by the fact that we're heard in over 30 countries now, all over the world. And for so many of you that have listened to my story, my journey, who have grown with me, thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to serving you in 2025 with more awesome guests, more awesome tips and tricks and all of that. Keep it locked in. If you like this episode, please share, like, comment, follow, rate it, please, so that we can shoot up the ranks. I want to be number one. I'm an athlete. I don't come to lose. Number two is losing. I want to be number one. So do your part. That's the least you could do for me, is just share this out, rank it in review, and I'll see you on the other side of 2025.